time since the war began last year. The Israeli occupation military campaign has killed more than 44,400 Palestinians, injured many others, and reduced much of the enclave to rubble.
And now we are joined over the phone by Ambassador Sou'ad Shalaby, former Assistant Foreign Minister. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Ambassador, Mrs. Ambassador, as we are just following up the situation in Gaza, how do you see the recent developments?
It was, as you know, yesterday there was a ministerial meeting, conference called for permission for the assistance,
yes,
humanitarian assistance to be allowed in Gaza, the lives of people who are dying every day from the hunger and attrition. And today we are celebrating the day for solidarity of Palestine. This day has to be recognized by the Israelis and the Palestinians because they both have the right to live together in the same country. And Israel has to give the permission for the trucks that are standing on the border in order to be allowed in for saving the lives of the children, of the women, of the who are needy in the Palestinian Gaza are suffering from hunger and from attrition. That is what there has to be a solution to the humanitarian crisis.
So, Ambassador Sou'ad, also, if we talk about yesterday's conference, it was actually an important conference that reflects Egypt's relentless endeavors to reach ceasefire and allow humanitarian aid to Gaza. How do you see the resolutions and recommendations adopted by this important conference?
Yes, of course, there has always been supporting the Palestinians, and especially now because in Gaza the humanitarian assistance is not allowed. That is why the stations of the ministerial meeting that took place yesterday was very important.
Yes.
And the support that the government is giving for the Gazans and for the Palestinians is very important because it has been supporting since not only now, but during the past 75 years, the Palestinian case was on the top agenda of the Egyptian political spectrum, and it has been for all the Arab countries in the Arab League. There has been a lot of recommendations taking place. Even in the beginning of November, last November, there has been another meeting that took place in Egypt, and many other meetings took place in Jeddah and in other places for the Islamic countries and for the Arab countries. They have taken out deciding many recommendations to allow the humanitarian aid to pass through the borders, whether it is from Jordan or from Egypt. But until now, the Israeli government is refusing, and all the countries in the Western world are pushing the Israeli government to accept these recommendations that have been announced yesterday in the
conference, yes.
In the ministerial conference, in the press conference.
So, Ambassador Sou'ad, also, can you elaborate on Egypt's three-track strategy, which is security, humanitarian, and political, and its effectiveness in addressing Gaza crisis?
Well, as you know, Egypt supports the two-state solution, and this is a political road that Egypt roadmap for the aftermath of the war. But unfortunately, the war is taking there are a lot of tragedies that have happened after the war that need to be stopped. Like now we are dealing with the ceasefire. So the track that Egypt is focusing on now is to stop the bloodshed, to stop the killing, and this has to stop by an immediate ceasefire. And as the decision was taken in the Security Council for Lebanon, it has to take place for Gaza also. In the Security Council, there will be another meeting for Gaza to have an immediate ceasefire. So this is the track that Egypt is following now, and of course, after the peace, there has to be a reconstruction. There has to be reconstruction. There has to be a strategy for returning the refugees, returning those who have lost their lives, those who have lost their families and want to go back to their country. So Palestinian people who have fled from Gaza during the war has to go back, and Egypt is supporting the reconstruction and peaceful coexistence in a two-state solution with Israel. Of course, there has to be funding for that, and the Arab countries and the Western countries and the Israelis are responsible to reconstruct Gaza after its destruction.
Ambassador Sou'ad, we are talking about reconstruction, and still the Israeli occupation forces are continuing their massacres in the West Bank. How do you see this?
Well, this is the problem that the Israeli policy is to extend the occupation and also to resettlement, to have more settlements of Israelis on the occupied Palestine. So this is something that has to be stopped, and of course the occupation is illegal. It's not at all helping in the two-state solution, in the road to peace. If we want peace in the region, in the Middle East, then we have to stop the occupation. We have to limit the violence. We have to the resettlement of the Palestinians back to their countries, to their homes. We have to stop the increase of the settlements, the expansion of settlements of the Israelis on occupied land. And this is a recommendation by the Security Council many years ago and has been supported by all the Western countries, except for the veto, the power that has been taken by the United States several times, and this is the obstacle towards peace in the Middle East.
So one more question. If we talk about yesterday's conference, how might the involvement of international organizations, including United Nations agencies, elevate the effectiveness of aid mobilization for Gaza?
Well, as you have heard yesterday, the reports about the situation is deplorable. It's the humanitarian situation, and all the United Nations agencies are extending their support and their humanitarian aid to the Palestinians in Gaza, because it is something that they are capable of doing if they are allowed. But the problem is that Israel is bombing even the humanitarian the people who are helping, the medical people, the press even those who are from the kitchen, the World Food Kitchen, they are bombing even those who are extending the NGOs, the humanitarian agencies are afraid to extend their help because they are bombed. So there has to be a secure path, a secure place for those humanitarian agencies, and the United Nations has to be respected because nobody ever did not respect the human law, the humanitarian law. It has to be respected.
Yes, I'd like to thank you, Ambassador Sou'ad Shalaby, former Assistant Foreign Minister. Thank you, Ambassador Sou'ad, for being with us. And back to our international reports. And from Ukraine, Ukraine said Tuesday that its forces had repelled the Russian effort to cross the Oskil River, which has long been a de facto front line across east of the country. The waterway winds its way from Russia's western border through the northeast of Ukraine, with Moscow and Kiev's forces entrenched on either side of section of its banks. Details follow.